Okay, and we are live. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us for our last workshop of the day. We'll have Frank doing a workshop on Waku, using Waku to add decentralized communication to your dApps. If you have any questions, you could leave them in the chat and he'll answer them throughout or at the end. Take it away.
Awesome, thank you. Hi everyone, let's start the Waku workshop. So first, what is Waku? So Waku enables you to send and receive messages in a decentralized manner. That's as simple as that. So we are building Waku as a public good, so it's agnostic, so it works with any blockchain in the way that, I mean, it's not a blockchain first, but if you want to interact with blockchains, you can do whatever you want there. It is a public good, so there's no need to lock some tokens or anything like that to use Waku. And it is decentralized. So the idea is that you are running Waku node. You don't need to worry about that too much during the hackathon. But if you use Waku, let's say you use GS Waku in the browser, you'll be running a Waku node in the browser. So enables you to send messages in a decentralized manner. So these messages are off-chain. So if there is anything you want to take off-chain and still enable some interaction between users, you can use Waku. So one of the messages is any payload, so you can encode anything in the messages. So it could be chat messages, it could be a signed message that you want to send, exchange off-chain to then later put in a smart contract. What can that be? It could be the signature for a multi-sig transaction. It could be a bid on an NFT auction. So sign the bid so that if you take the message and put it in the smart contract, you get the NFT sold. It could be maybe some event in a game, and you could sign it so that later this lead to some asset exchange on the blockchain. So for example, a game move, pick a card. So for example, you do a card game, you can pick a card, so commit to a card, and you can sign a message, which is the hash of the card, to say I committed to this card. And then when you reveal the card, you can have another message which shows what card was hashed. So at the end of the day, it can be any message with any payload, and it's really limited by your own creativity and imagination. So in short, but ask yourself when using Waku. Well, if you are thinking about having some communication going on with your project, and at the moment you're looking at maybe having a centralized server that could run Firebase, for example, or like a lightweight database to be able to do message exchange, instead try to use Waku so that your application can be decentralized. If you are maybe thinking about using P2P, but you also need to run your own nodes, maybe instead use Waku, because with Waku, the nodes are generic, which means that anyone running Waku node can support any kind of project. So that's pretty much it for Waku. It's really just about being able to send messages off-chain in a decentralized manner. And decentralized manner means that it is censorship resistant. It is resilient because we have a number of nodes. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So now let's have a look at, let's have a look at more ideas. So I'll put this link, I'll talk about the ideas again at the end, but so yes, we have this website, docs.wakuconnect.dev, where we have a lot of documentation for GS Waku in the browser. So I just click on this link, it's open there already. There we go. So yeah, so message can be a chat message, that's absolutely fine, and we, everyone can get that. So poll message. So let's say we also have some polls in your project, a bit like Twitter polls, okay? But that doesn't need to be on chain, and that can be, it can be decentralized using Waku. So what happens is that you send one message, which is your poll questions, and then other users can see the message and can answer the poll by sending the answer, and everyone can collect the answer and see the answer of the poll. We actually have a couple of, an SDK available for polls, which is React based. So you can just jump in the repo there. For NFT marketplaces, so there's a few ways you can use Waku when you are building a decentralized NFT marketplace. One way is to add a social media layer so that, for example, you can enable users to publicly like an NFT or to publicly comment on this NFT, and we just send the like or the comment as a message over Waku, and another user, grabs this message from Waku and can then display it, or you can see them in their app. And also, you can look at some of the actions you do as part of the NFT platform and see whether it will be worth putting them off-chain. So the idea is, instead of having to go layer 2, for example, to make it cheaper, especially if some of the NFT are running on the L1, you could use Waku to make some of the action off-chain. So one of the actions which would make sense to have off-chain, for example, is bidding. So you could still have someone, Alice sells her NFT. So she's going to interact with the L1 contract to say, okay, my NFT is up for auction now. But then when Bob and Carol bid for the NFT, what they could do is that they could send a signed message over Waku to say, I want to buy this NFT for this much ETH. They may have to pre-authorize the ETH to be transferred by the smart contract, but that's only once when they use the platform. And then Alice can collect all the bids, take the highest bid, and put this one on the blockchain to sell the NFT to the highest bidder. So that's one way actually to move things off-chain to save gas. And in this scenario, Alice and Bob, maybe Bob and Carol didn't win the bid, but they didn't have to pay any gas to bid in the first place. And that is again in decentralized manner. We have other, so stationery is quite a complex one. So I skipped this one, I think, for the hackathon. Voting and proposals. So one way that can be done with voting, and we have an SDK for this one as well, is instead of having each user vote on smart contract and pay gas, what you could do is that users vote by signing a transaction and sending it over Waku, and then you could have the DAO or maybe the proposer take all the votes and submit them on chain, so that you basically enable users to vote without paying gas, and the gas is being paid when someone submits a batch votes. Signature exchange for multi-sig wallet. So we actually have a Gnosis. For Gnosis Safe, we have a little POC doing that. We talk about gameplay communication. So instead of having all the move happening on the blockchain, or all of the move being on a central server, any move that doesn't immediately lead to an asset being burnt, mint, exchanged, or moved can be done on Waku off-chain. So let's say you do a card game, you can have the move of setting up what card you're going to use and then revealing the card done over Waku. And then if winning the round then lead to an asset big move off-chain, then you can go to the blockchain. But just thinking about what can be done off-chain, basically. dApp to wallet communication. So you can use Waku, if you integrate Waku in a wallet in dApp, which may not be possible within a hackathon, but you could use Waku to do communication here as well. And something for layer 2 as well, but that's maybe a bit complex for hackathon. There you go. So that's what at any kind of generalized marketplace as well. So we could see Waku as an open network to enable any kind of market. So if you want to have a market where Alice can sell something, so you say I have something to sell, and Bob wants to buy something, you don't have to go on the blockchain and having Alice paying gas to say she has to sell something, and then Bob paying gas to say, oh, I want to buy it, but just take it off chain and have Alice, okay, I want to sell something, and send a message over Waku. Bob can see the message, can say, okay, I'll buy it, and send a message to Alice to say, okay, I'll buy this message, still over Waku, and so far nobody has paid gas. And then Alice and Bob can enter into the sale, and then now interact with contract and have this sale opening over Ethereum or any chain. And what's interesting with that is you could maybe have one part of the sale. So let's say you are selling a physical item, then this part of the sale can happen, in the real world, and only the transaction, the asset being happening over the blockchain. So yes, Waku can be used when you say one selectioning messages, it can be used in a way where you broadcast messages, so that you send a message and everyone can access it. So that's Ali saying, I want to sell my my NFT or sell an item. But you can also use Waku for one-to-one private conversation, and we do offer some encryption methods which are really available. So when Bob wants to say to Alice, "Hey, I want to buy this thing," Bob can send a message over Waku that is only for Alice. Okay, and there's strategies for that. So yeah, okay. So we have 3 Waku implementation available at the moment. So GS Waku is our browser-focused implementation in written TypeScript, and so available in JavaScript and TypeScript. That's one where we have most documentation available. Then we have NWaku, which is our service node and has a JSON RPC API. So NWaku is a node. So when you use GS Waku, you do run a node in the browser. Now, if you want to run a node in the cloud, for example, you can use NWaku. And it has a JSON RPC API. So if you have maybe a Python backend or a Node.js backend, you could use NWaku and access the Waku network using the JSON RPC API of NWaku. And then finally, we also have a Go Waku version. So if you have a Go backend software, then you can integrate Waku using Go Waku. And we also provide some C bindings for Go Waku. So which means, and we have some examples. So with C bindings, you could integrate it in most, if not any language. And we do have some examples on how to use these C bindings is in C#, especially for Unity, in Swift, and in Kotlin. So it does work on the mobile if you are building a mobile app. So GS Waku, so most of the documentation of GS Waku is available on the Waku Connect doc website. So if I just jump in there, so here's the website, and here are all the docs available. So we have a number of guides available. If you just jump on the guide one, you can see so they are grouped. So we do have some example showing how to use Waku with React framework and Angular framework. If you are using other framework, you can just jump in JavaScript section and use all this framework. So for example, if I jump in the receive and send messages using Waku Relay. So Waku Relay is a gossip sub protocol. So meaning that you send a message and the message is being forwarded to other node and it propagates through the network. And then it can be received by your party on the other side. So if you look at using Waku with a simple JavaScript or any framework, so you can just install GS Waku as a package, and then to create your Waku node, it's very simple. Just Waku create API. Bootstrap is when you create a node, it needs to connect to the network. So we have some Bootstrap method available. So from like a JavaScript developer point of view, you can just use that and we connect to some Waku node being run by status. And that's something we are evolving and improving as we improve Waku. So you can just do Bootstrap default true. Now, if you decide to run your own Waku node, you could decide to pass the address of Waku node there, which is like this way. But for hackathon, we suggest to just use default true. Then we have a method just to ensure that all the handshakes are being done and you are ready to go. Once you're ready to go to send a message, so to receive messages first, you just need to try to change the size of the screen. You just need to create a callback method that processes your incoming messages. So this process incoming message function is just a callback method that takes a Waku message, and then you can do whatever you want. You can display it, you can process it. It's up to you. And then you just do wakurelay.add observer. So you add an observer, you pass your callback function, and then you pass this array of strings. So this is a content topic. Okay, so a content topic is, so when you send a message, you always attach a content topic to it. So that if you say, I have my cool card game, all right, and this message, and you want to have messages to be able to commit to a card, then you could have a content topic which is / my cool card game / version 1 / commit to card. So that when you send a message, you set this content topic to commit to a card, and then the users that are playing the game will listen to messages on this content topic. So that basically is a way for you to categorize messages so that you can process only messages that are for your app instead of processing all messages of the network and trying to find ones there. So it's a way to tag your messages to say, okay, this is what's relevant to me. If you want to know more about content topic, you can see on the left, we have a guide, which is how to choose a content topic. So when you send a message, you need to create a Waku message. We have some helper function to create messages, and you just need the message first, and then here the content topic that we just talked about. Now, in terms of the message here, so we have a string UTF-8 helper, but most likely you want to just use bytes, so you can put whatever you want in there. And so we have a from byte function, and then you just use Waku or send. Okay. So now, in terms of say using byte, we do suggest to use protobuf, and we have some explanation on how to use protobuf. And so back to the guide. So we have some explanation around the general concepts, content topic, discovery bootstrap, and how to debug if you have some issues. What's good with Waku is that we have what we call a store protocol that enables, so you start your node in the browser, and you may want to retrieve past messages. So you can query any Waku nodes to get past messages for your given content topic. And that is explained in this retrieve messages from using Waku Store. Okay. And then if you want to encrypt messages or sign messages, we also have a couple of guides that explain how to encrypt messages and sign messages. So I really suggest you go have a look there once you know what you want to do with Waku. And we also have a FAQ page with some of the basic questions. So if you have any error or issue, just jump into FAQ first. And of course, you can ping me on Discord, no issue. All right, so that's for JS Waku. So one more thing I wanted to mention is that in the doc website, we also have a list of examples. So here are all our examples being listed, and what you want to do, you can jump in this page and try to find examples that matches what you want to do. So also, all Waku code is open source, of course. So in the Waku repo, we have an example folder, and in which we have the examples. For example, here for pure JavaScript in HTML role example, we have an example for that, and that's an HTML code, and you can go in there and that demonstrate what we showed. So that's something that's a good resource as well to jump into. So the example folder in the Waku repo has a number of examples there available. So you can see more, you can see directly the code instead of following a guide. Okay. Now, if you decide to go, so that's JavaScript. So if you decide to go, let's say you have a node as part of your project, you have some backend running, hopefully it's decentralized, right? Then what you could do is use NWaku to access the Waku network. So we do have NWaku, so latest version is 0.9, and it is available on Docker. So I would suggest jump and use Docker directly, so you don't have to worry about trying to compile it. So NWaku is written in NIM, which is a functional language very similar to Python and Rust. So you don't have to worry about trying to compile it or anything like that. Just use the Docker image to go faster. We have, so the documentation is mainly available in the NWaku repo, and you can see NWaku/Waku/v2. And there, so yes, some explanation on how to build and run, but I suggest you use Docker. And there is some explanation on how to configure a domain name and use DNS. So if you are using JS Waku on the other side, you need SSL and a domain name for the browser to use WebSocket to connect to your NWaku node. So you may want to look into that. Now, if you are using NWaku because you have a backend, then you just use NWaku and try to move faster. In terms of the JSON RPC API, it is fully described and spec'd in our specs. So that's Waku V2 RPC API. I will send the link to the presentation with all these links in the Discord, in the Waku Connect Discord channel on the IS Global Discord, okay, at the end. So here, so Waku V2 RPC API, so JSON RPC, and that enables you to use NWaku with any other software, just using JSON RPC. So if we look at, sending a message, then we have the Relay API, which is our gossip sub protocol, and you can do a post Waku V2 Relay V1 message method. The content topic, that's the topic of the message, and then the message by itself. And if you jump to the Waku Relay type, you have a payload, so you just encode your payload as a hex string. You have a content topic and your timestamp. And that allows you to send messages. We have some API, so to get messages here, and then the store API to retrieve the messages from other NWaku node, extra. So that's where the API is defined. If you want to go through the route of having your NWaku node running with some other backend software or some other node of yours. All right. And then finally, we do have a GoWaku Go implementation. So that's useful both if you have Go. So if your backend, your node is written in Go, you can integrate in Go. But we also have C bindings, as I mentioned before. So if actually any other kind of software and you prefer to go through the C binding route instead of going, instead of using JSON RPC, then you can use Go. Okay, so it's really up to you, whatever you feel more confident, familiar with. You could either run NWaku and use JSON RPC to access to Waku network, and you have to run two software, your software and Waku. Or if you want to integrate Waku software directly in your native software, then you can go with GoWaku. So GoWaku, so for GoWaku, the best way to go is going to examples. So we do have some docs. We do have some documentation that explain a few things in Markdown. So if you jump in the Relay doc, it explains how to do that. So that's a good way to start and have some explanations. And once you feel like, okay, you're getting a hang of it and you're getting some understanding on how the API works, then you can jump into the examples. So into the examples, so we have, so Basic 2 and Chat 2 are good examples to look into. So Chat 2 is a simple chat application written in GoWaku. And you can have a look at the code and see how it's used once you have seen the docs. And if you are interested in integrating GoWaku in C# or in Swift or Kotlin, it's all in there, okay? That's because it's all based on C binding. So again, jump into the examples, and that's one way to go. All right, running out of time. That's it. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for me. So again, maybe back to the idea. So, lots of explanation. So Waku is to send messages, okay? And whether it is about broadcasting messages to lots of users or doing one-to-one messages, anything you want to take off-chain, you can use Waku send message. We provide some method to encrypt messages, so that if you want to have this, the messages can be anything, because we enable you to have any kind of payload, which is in a byte array, so you can put anything you want in there. In terms of use cases, you can go in there and have some ideas. But if you look at your project and you want to have some interaction between the users, most likely today you are either thinking about having a centralized server, or maybe you are thinking about putting all the interaction on the blockchain, or there is a better way, which is to use Waku, so you can have the messaging being sent in decentralized manner. And Waku is available for the browser, for native apps, and for any kind of backend node as well. So that's all the different implementations we have available there. Yeah, that's it for me. Don't have any questions, so if you have a question, now is a good time. Otherwise, happy hacking.
I don't see any questions right now, but if anyone does have any questions, they could bring them over to. Can't hear me?
Yes, now I could hear.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, so I don't see any questions, but if there's any questions, you could take them over to the Discord channel that we have set up for Waku. Yep, I think we're good. Yep, so this is our last workshop of the day. We will be having more starting tomorrow. So tune into that. We have the schedule on our website as well. Thank you very much, Frank.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good one, everyone.